pero sí, ¿cómo le hacemos? Porque, should we continue in English or in Spanish? Let's do English for the moment. There are a couple of people that tried to get into the conversation, but it's asking for the password for everyone. I don't know if we can change that.
Let me try and change that.
Hola, querida, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, gracias. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal, Wicho?
Hola.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay,
good.
I am going to write up a post very fast on Facebook with the information that you gave me, Cholo, because I think it's not clear for everyone that there is a password and where to get it. And also, like the YouTube page just disappeared, so we need to make that available.
Exactly. That's what I had to write to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hola, Luis. Saludos desde DF.
Hola.
Wolf, querido, ¿cómo estás?
¿Quién eres, perdón?
Wolf, un amigo de Luis aquí que vive en la Ciudad de México.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Wolfgang, pero para no complicarse la vida, Wolf está bien, o Lobo.
Lobo. ¿Qué tal? Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto, mucho gusto. Sí, disfrutando el documental, ¿eh?
Sí, qué buena fotografía, Wich.
Mariela, querida.
Sí.
Eso se lo debemos todo. I've been trying to describe this earlier to other friends, and I was telling them that it's kind of a mutant film, because like the contents to a certain extent are like mine and my world, like my family and all of that, but then all the structure of it and the aesthetics are entirely Hiroshi and Motomus's doing. And
but it's wonderful because, I mean, being Asian, you know, how they portray everything. I mean, it's like realistic at the same time, so beautiful, you know, so well crafted, you know.
Wow, thank you. Gracias.
De nada.
Everybody, I think we are still expecting a little bit of more people that they're gonna be joining to the session, but for now, I would like to thank Hiroshi and Jose Rico for their film, which I found amazingly lovely and candid. A todo el mundo, voy a estar traduciendo nada más esta partecita del inicio. Me gustaría agradecerle a Hiroshi y Jose Rico el trabajo que hicieron. Me parece un documental muy cándido, muy lindo, muy bien realizado, y tuvimos muy buena audiencia. Vamos a esperar a que la gente se vaya conectando. Por lo pronto, hay una cosa que me importa, bueno, que creo que estaría interesante hacer. Me gustaría saber dónde está todo el mundo. No sé si podemos ir diciendo dónde estamos. Yo, por lo pronto, estoy en...
Sure. In English, right? Or...
Where everybody of us are currently located. For now, I'm in Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, where the film takes place. What are you, Hiroshi?
I'm in Port Aransas, Texas.
Texas, not far from
we evacuated from New York.
Oh, all right.
Meanwhile,
I am in New York, in Riverdale.
Oh, wow. Oh, great.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. So
I'd love to meet you one day.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
I knew about the project because Wicho would always tell me the details. You know, I've been following the whole thing. Because I was, you were in 2 of my classes, right, Wicho?
Yes. I think
at the MFA.
Yes, I think it was 3, like 2 poetry seminars and the translation seminar.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. That was nice. Yes, we got to work together a lot. Nice. So I'm so glad it's out and it's so beautiful. Hope that we can meet here again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Hiroshi.
Hello. When he said hello. Oh, this is Thank you so much. Hola.
How are you?
He's watching from Vietnam.
Oh, wonderful.
No, Japan. I'm Vietnamese artist, but now I'm in Osaka.
Oh,
You're in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is my friend Shotaro Ikeda.
Hello.
Okay. Konnichiwa.
Yeah, we just
Ikeda-san,
had an
konnichiwa.
exhibition. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
Yes. Congratulations. I love your work.
Hey, where are you located? ¿Dónde estás ahora, José?
Me?
Huicho, José Rico. Sorry.
Sorry, give me a second. I'm still like filling in people on the information about how to get into the conversation.
Shaota, let us know where you are located.
Me?
You, yeah.
Yeah, we are in Osaka, Japan.
Osaka.
Yeah.
Been there for 3 months. It's a great place.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How? When was that?
It was a long time ago. Like I think it was like 06 or 05. Around that. I love it.
Great.
Well,
I want to go to Mexico though.
you should, man. I'm pretty sure you will love it.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm running Spanish.
Mexico or US or Japan?
So to who now? Who is talking about?
I'm just asking people where are they located? Where?
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm from Vietnam. I'm from Vietnam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then, so other one.
Wolfgang, tú estás en Ciudad de México, nos dijiste.
Así es, Colonia Nativitas, a 2 cuadras de Tlalpan.
Órale, al lado mío.
¿Cómo?
Al lado mío.
Bueno, vecino, ¿qué tal?
¿Cómo andamos?
Saludos a todos desde la Ciudad de México a Oaxaca, a Osaka, Oaxaca, ¿dónde?
And I want to introduce you guys to Jill. She's in New York right now. She's an Oscar-nominated filmmaker.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And then also Sam Bet, who's we can see his face now. He's an amazing translator. Because of Sam, I met Jose Rico.
Sorry.
So without Sam, we wouldn't have been here.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
Happened. Thanks a lot.
Do we have quorum to start?
Yes, yeah. We are 25. I mean, on the we had 150 viewers. The YouTube channel. We can definitely start the Q&A session, and let's see if more people can join us. Vamos a empezar la sesión preguntas-respuestas. Hay todavía personas que estoy aceptando al grupo de aquí de Zoom. Se siguen uniendo. Tuvimos 150 personas viendo el documental, lo que me parece fantástico porque son muchas latitudes de distintos lugares. Everybody is like in so many different places, which I find amazing. I'm going to start with a question for you, Hiroshi.
Yes.
And it's very simple, but at the same time, I think it's going to be complicated.
Yeah.
Why?
So, why is like the big why is because when I first met Jose Rico, Sam organizes this a translators event where they each share the text that they translated. And I went to one of those, and Jose Rico was there, and he was sitting in front of me at the dinner. And he gave me a wink. That's how everything started. That's the very big sign that I had. Yeah. So then from there, we started talking, and I started to find out about his background, the fact that he's a poet, besides being translator. And then also his factory, his father's factory, and then also a little bit of like the personal family situations. And then also, of course, the poem Port. So we conversed about that, and we just hit it off. And then from there, we just started working immediately. It was like just immediately after we met, we just started working. It was really amazing chance in some ways.
Definitely. I find very interesting, and my question of why started because the documentary is very, very personal, in depth into Jose's life, and your context, I'm guessing it's really different from what you experienced in Juarez following Jose and his family and us or his friends. So it was like, to me, it was like how Hiroshi said, let's do that film about this guy in that specific location, which is Juarez.
So the other also, maybe I can add, I was very interested in text in cinema, poetry recitation, or the literature that are literally used as a dialogue. So initially, the fact that he was a poet was a really perfect starting point, because I wanted to do a film where the poetry is spoken. So that, and then his situation, and then also the context of drug war, just really made me interested in pursuing this project.
And here's the name of that film, the Japanese film we both loved, that has a poet on a business trip. Do you remember?
Oh yes, this is Chinese film. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's an amazing film called a Poet on a Business Trip, where this guy is a poet. He's like a kind of drunken poet, and he's just traveling all around China, sleeping with women, like getting together with hookers, and then seducing her to come to Beijing or Shanghai and all these things. It's a very like improvisational film.
But the poetry,
we love
the poetry on screen was so seductive.
Yeah.
And I had never seen that before.
Yeah.
When I saw your film, I kept thinking about the poet on the business trip.
Yeah.
Ahora,
and then maybe, yeah.
No, sorry.
No.
Oh, well, I wanted to jump into Jose in Spanish, and then I'm going to be like sort of translating if he answers in English or Spanish. Huicho, tengo dos preguntas para ti. La primera es, ¿qué hora es en donde estás, güey? ¿Dónde estás y qué hora es?
Right now here it's 5:38 in the morning.
5:38 in the morning.
Yes. So I think 2 weeks ago there was an Us and Them reading online, but it was like scheduled for New York time, and I wanted to be there, but I fell asleep because it was like around the same time. So this time around, like I spent like the last few hours texting everyone, hey, can you watch my movie? No. And now I'm very like stoked up. So I don't know if I will be able to sleep at all. I started drinking now.
Like, what are you drinking?
Wine.
Now, which another question more related to it really into your life, and that last scene with that, it's so strong, man. It's so harsh, and you're not crying and all that stuff. How did you feel about that?
Well, this is one of the biggest issues that I have whenever I try to speak about who I am and what does Juarez mean for me. We know, because we all read the news, we know what kind of like social destruction and decay is going on the Mexican border. That is no secret. But what is very hard for me to wrap my head around is that, on the other hand, like, of course, like, make no mistake, my family is like not perfect. My parents are human beings, but you know, like, ultimately, like, the experience of seeing my father cry, like, that is something that I cherish. And I think he is like a very strong person that is also fairly in touch with his feelings. So for me, it's like a matter of pride to see him like show that aspect of himself, because you see him like in the first scene, he looks like how like he is, like he's a tough guy. At the same time, like, he cried for the camera and he had no problem with that. And that is like a kind of openness that I wish I was able to have myself, and perhaps I don't have it. I really didn't like the character that I play in this fucking film, let me tell you.
What was that character? I mean, we all think it's you.
You know, I think, and we, like, the people who were with us filming the documentary, you all saw what tension there was between Hiroshi and me when we were filming.
Yes.
And while we were in the field, I felt I was being misportrayed by him, to be honest. But now I have to say, like, it's a quite an accurate depiction of who I am. It's just that I don't like it. That's something else.
I see some familiar faces from people who were in the film. I see Julieta, I see Rayel, who was the last shot of the film. He's here, his brother. And you sent me a message earlier today, Richo, about Onesimo, the mariachi that is on the scene at the bar, and then he's playing at the last when the credits start roll up. He's having a hard time right now. He's struggling with money, because obviously he was living out of the money that people gave him at the bar, and for this pandemic situation, the bar is closed. So he's really having a hard time, and we would love to start something like maybe a campaign or something to help him out. So can you explain a little bit more about that situation, Richo?
Yeah, so when I was in Mexico last summer, I bumped into Onesimo by chance, because I went to the same bar where he works. But you know, like, the attire that he's wearing on the film, which is like his working uniform, the mariachi attire with the sombrero and all of that, he was not wearing that. And the guitar he was playing was like conspicuously shitty. And I asked him, like, what's up, man? Like, why are you like slacking down? And he said, no, my house burned down. So it turns out this guy was sleeping in his house in the middle of the night on his own, and his house caught fire, and he was able to like get out of there, like on a wheelchair, get a guitar, throw on a pair of jeans, and make it out. Wow. So that was back then. And like, I had tried to be in touch with him for a brief while, but you know, like, I'm also facing like this other reality here in Finland. So I had lost track of how he was doing. And you know, today, like 2 hours before the screening, I saw like a kind of a GoFundMe page from Juarez for him. And it makes a lot of sense because like he was already in a tough situation at this time last year. And now with the COVID infection, it has to be very hard for him. So I'm gonna post that information here and also on my Facebook wall. So people, if they can make a donation, that would be excellent. And I'm gonna get in touch with him and see what I can do for him myself personally. But there is also already a page set up for that. So I'm gonna share that with the group.
Yeah, that would be great.
I will to start with the questions from people or comments about the film and hear what is everybody wants to ask or comment about the film.
Oh, he's coming.
Estoy abriendo la sesión de preguntas y respuestas para todo el mundo, quien tenga algún comentario o alguna pregunta que hacer a Hiroshi o a José.
I like the poetry very much, but for the next film, you'll have to have people read it slower because we who are reading the English translation is going too fast for the poetry. So it's just a thought that for the next film, to find people to read it slower so that we're not just reading and trying to keep up with very complicated ideas and complicated images and all that. But I like the poetry very much. Thank you for that. Jose, are you still writing poetry?
Yes, I am. I'm at least, trying.
Yeah.
But what was such a gift from this project for me was the chance of seeing those texts critically again, because I had to explain them to Hiroshi. And this, it always happens with poetry. Each language has its tropes and, like what is considered like a natural set of ideas, which isn't natural, but it just comes across like as natural. And I remember the first few like work sessions with Hiroshi, and he was like basically like open, like show me stuff. What have you done? What have you written? And some poems were translated, others weren't. And it was very clear to me when I was trying to explain the poems to him, like, this is so fucking corny. Like, it's very hard for me to convey the same ideas in English without it sounding like corny or whimsical. And therefore, strangely enough, it ends up needing more words in English.
Yeah.
So, ideas that, because those poems are, some writers in Mexico have even told me that, that body of work is a bit, naive or way too sing-song, simplistic. And then trying to translate that to English becomes this convoluted enterprise anyway.
Well, the translations were good, I thought. Whoever did the English translations.
It took a while.
The poetry works in English.
Mariela?
Sí, no, yo estoy preparando para mañana, para que no se malogre la carta.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Yep.
So, Jose, my understanding is that there is, some level of scripting to this. Like there are different layers of artifice involved. There's a directorial vision and stuff like that. But this is also like your real friends and your real poems, your real family, your real hometown. And for those of us watching, it's quite obvious that you were having real life experiences. This wasn't like this wasn't a play for you. Like these were real moments that you had. How did it feel in these moments when you were having these moments of reunion or kind of like awakening or breakthrough with loved ones and family? Like, did you ever feel resentful that you couldn't have them in private, or did you feel lucky that you would be able to revisit them? Like, how did the lens of the presence of the filmmaking process affect your personal experience of these special moments?
There are two layers of that. The first layer I discussed with with Josh. That was a slip of the tongue. With Josh Cohen, who was there with us, and who incidentally in most of the moments there was the only other person who spoke both languages like fluently. So he knows me, and he said, man, you are groping your past. Like, you are really desecrating your past with what you're doing here. And I felt like, yeah, I think I'm doing that. But we can stop. We cannot stop. Like, we're already here. What else can we do? So that was one of the feelings I had constantly. For example, when Reina reads that small fragment of the poem I wrote about her, she is someone that I love dearly, but I hadn't been in touch with her for the last like 4 years. Like, I had seen her and sat down with her to talk and share like a drink or coffee or something 4 or 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, because I wasn't able to control everything, I just showed up there and say, Reina, how are you? So good to see you. So we're filming a documentary. Turns out 10 years ago, I wrote a poem about you. Would you mind reading that for us right now? And that was, that was a bit sleazy, I would have to say. It felt sleazy, not only towards her, but even towards my family, towards everyone, on the one hand. On the other hand, now that I see this, I feel that was slipping away in time also, in a way that was becoming irretrievable. And as you see, the poems are there. They show a tiny sliver of this. There was no way like a poem could do justice. So like, I feel like the poem plus what we did as a project, it's disrespectful in many senses, but at least we captured this tiny bit. That's what I feel.
Right. Thank you for your answer. Is there anybody else who wants to comment?
Yes, I want to say something. Hello, I'm Idalia from Mexico City. It was a really good time to see this movie because I know José Luis for a long time. Like, I share a lot of these memories and these like story tales. I don't know how to say that, but it was really nice, like to see all the whole story, like all the movie, like completely. Like, I don't know how to say it because I know these stories. I read the poems in the past many times, and then it's like it all makes sense. But because I'm very close from José Luis, it's like, I don't know, but I think it's very honest, and it's the only way you can share like your life. Like, this is Juarez, but this is José Luis, and this is exciting. Like, there is some kind of beauty in all these stories that are very sad, but are also beauty. I don't know how to say it. Like, it makes all sense, and congratulations for all the team.
Idalia, hermosa, cómo me da gusto verte, en serio. I have to say, the honesty was provided by Hiroshi, because like he was able to pervert the idea into something more interesting. Because of course, like he told me it was going to be about the poems, but once we were there, like he started, like, for example, focusing on Isaac in a way that shed a lot of light on everything. So like, I think the honesty is like of his making ultimately.
Oh, maybe I can explain a little bit about how the process of writing a script with José Luis Rico. So what happened was like, once we started working, he was going back to Juarez in the winter, during the winter break from New York. And I gave him my small camcorder and I asked him to sort of like create a mock-up documentary of what this was going to be. So he basically went back and saw all these people, like Luis and Isaac and his father, all those people who are in the film, and basically had them read the poem that's written about them and then talked. So, and then from that vast footage, we looked at them and then we have chosen some of the strong dialogues from that. And sometimes we were transcribing the script, transcribing the dialogues, like father and like Jose Rico's father and Jose Rico's scene was something that was like, I was almost thinking, is this ethically okay to walk into someone's private life and something that is so, because I also come from a family with a business, and I'm also oldest brother. And so the fact that I didn't take over the business, and this is a very alive issue for me. So when we encountered this scene, I was really in some ways anxious and also nervous about this, to depict this as part of the film. And then ultimately, this sort of became, in some ways, a climactic scene in some ways. So that's how the script came. Like everything happened within this framework of trying out a documentary. And then from there, we made it into a film. I'm also kind of curious about some of the people who are involved, like Rael and Julieta. Like I'm really curious to hear what they thought.
Yes, me too. Well, so one of you guys, Julieta, Rael, or Isaac.
Yes, Isaac is hiding.
Yeah, Isaac is hiding his face, but I know.
I want to see his face, baby.
I think Isaac also, he started the whole film. So if he wants to hide now, I think he's earned that right.
And he's a baby crying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know the comments while the film was playing on YouTube, and basically we asked, like, is Jose a crying baby? Is llorón? And someone
llorón.
And someone got it from his dad. So I don't know which one of you guys want to jump in to hear what your thoughts are on the film.
I guess I don't know. Well, it depends on your question, Hiroshi. You want to talk about the stuff that happened on the sides, like that time that we got scared because we were filming on that part of Juarez, and then I started screaming because I say, hey, let's get out of here, and then all of a sudden, like, we got some cops and then pointed the guns, and that was pretty. You remember, right?
Yes, of course.
that was.
Yeah, I mean, it's all cool. But I'm just curious, like, from your point of view of like, like recording everything in the sound and then seeing sound with the music and all these things, because I think the guy who did the music, Joe Keita, is also listening here. So I'm curious. Yeah, in some ways, it's your collaboration with Keita.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, if you put it that way, I remember it was very challenging because Motumo, the DP, he told me that he wanted this big frames, and it was really wide, and then that make it really hard to record because the distances were just huge. And I remember we were having some sort of challenge with that. But then at the same time, I think the most important part was to capture the dialogue right, and I think we achieved that. I was sort of nervous in that sense because I didn't know. I haven't. This is actually the first time I see the movie, so I was nervous because I just, you know, sometimes you just get your package, your sound, and then you just hope for the best. But I think it really blend, especially with the music. And then I wasn't expecting that with the mariachi to actually have some part of a soundtrack as well, which I think was beautiful, and I really loved it.
Definitely, Rayo. Thank you for that. Thank you for your sound. The sound mixing is amazing. Yes, what you say about the mariachi is amazingly blended into the film, Hiroshi. That was like so cool. We have another star in the film, which is Ari, my wife.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask Ariadne, because like also this is the beauty of having recorded that it was quite improvised, partly because of the circumstances, partly because I suck at organizing. And I remember we had made an arrangement to film that scene where Ariadne comes out with Ilias and greets us. And we showed up at your place, and you were in the middle of like a crisis, like you had to deliver, because you were manufacturing like juices back then. And I remember I was like thinking, oh, these guys are gonna be like dressing very sharply because they're gonna appear on film. And we show up at your place, and we had like every day counted, and you were in a mess, and still, you know, we shot it. So how was that for you, Ariadne?
Well, the shooting process itself was it was hard. It was hard to say the least. I had a lot of stuff going on at the time at the house, and I had to take care of the baby, and you know, Luis was gone for like the past 2 or 3 days shooting with you guys, so it was kind of hard, but it was cool, you know, like seeing my baby right now today, and then he's just like grown so much, and it's been like a long time, you know. One would think that it happened yesterday, but then it's been like what, 2 years since that date. So it's been a long time, you know, preparing for this day today. And I know you guys have worked hard, and it came out pretty cool. Like today was the first time that I've seen it, that I saw it, and Luis didn't want to show it to me before, and it was great. I cried multiple scenes, especially with your dad, which was cool. And then seeing just my kid, you know, growing up, and especially growing up in Juarez too, because we're exposed to this city. I mean, as much as I would have liked to move to El Paso before, it still hasn't been possible to this date. So, you know, seeing like the places where Luis used to take me when we were dating, the month that we were dating, and then, you know, there's things that he had shown me and talked to me before, and then your relationship, your friendship, and all those things were pretty cool to be seeing on the screen that, you know, I got to see today. All the depth into the friendship, and then into the relationship that you and Luis have, which is way more it's older than what me and he have had, you know. So it's cool. It's cool to see the side, and yeah, we've definitely been partaking in the friendship, and now Hiroshi, and it was fun. I mean, it was hard, but it was fun, and yeah, it was I don't know, a lot of mixed feelings, but it was cool to see it on the screen today, definitely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Because
I don't know you.
No. I'm just gonna say that John Herrera has a raising hand, so we're gonna give his question. But before that, I want to say hi to your parents, Huicho, el papá de José, Isaac y la mamá están conectados y les queremos pasar un saludo. Son una familia muy, muy, muy linda.
Excepcional, de verdad, sí se ve en la pantalla.
Hola, Isaac.
¿Qué onda, Cholo? ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien. Gusto de que estén aquí y ver a tu papá y a tu mamá. Hace mucho que no los veo.
Pues a mí me gustaría verlos menos, pero...
Ajá. Y sobre todo en estos momentos, ¿eh? Ya no haya cómo salirse, Isaac. Cholo, ya les dije, vengan aunque no esté aquí Luis.
Sí, va a ver que sí vamos a ir, y sobre todo si tienen caguamas, que ya no hay en ningún lado.
Muy bien. Pues yo les quiero decir, ahí lo traducen por favor al inglés, ¿sí? Claro que había leído estos poemas de Luis y pensé que solamente yo les podría entender y nadie más, porque soy su mamá y sé lo que él ha vivido. Me pareció fantástico, fantástico. Gracias, Hiroshi. Esta es tu casa. Ven también, aquí te esperamos. Felicidades, hijo. A todos, gracias por el apoyo. Todos aquí tienen su casa. Estoy feliz. Y ya.
Which I don't know if you want to sort of like translate what your mom said, those candid words that she said.
I think everyone can surmise what she said from the tone of her words. Yeah.
I have to translate it the way she said.
That would be very, very a challenge. Also, like something that comes to mind now is how chaotic the house was those 2 or 3 weeks. Because like I am really very bad at organizing stuff, and all of a sudden, like I had, like my family who was going to
you were visiting us.
I was visiting. I was coming over with Emma, and we were already planning to get married, but my parents still didn't know that. And then like I showed up in Juarez, and like 4 days after that, it was like the home was taken over by Hiroshi, Motomu, my friend Josh, who decided to visit us at that very same time. So like, it was festive in many ways because like ultimately, for a Mexican family, I feel that it's always a privilege to have guests. So that meant that my parents would get up, they would start cooking, and they would have to cook for 8 people instead of 3. And we would take over their living room and their dining room for the entire morning. Then I would take my mother's van for filming, and then we would come back in the evening and talk about what had happened and have dinner and make a fuss and drink and then argue as well. And it was all happening in the midst of my
January.
Yeah, it was January, but it's like that door and that ceiling. It's the house where I grew up in. So that it was super bizarre to have conversations like this one in another language where we were like running a project, time was against us, and at the same time, like I was trying to catch up with, you know, mom, how are you feeling? What's up? What's up, dad? Hey, tomorrow we're gonna show up at your workshop. Is that okay? So it was again like a sense of capturing something precious, but it also felt quite wrong at the same time. It was fun and wrong at the same time.
John, you want to jump in with your question?
Sure. Thanks. I was cutting the camera in and out because I'm having dinner, but I'm listening to everything and it sounds great. Just wanted to jump in to congratulate the entire team. Just a quick, brief note. I don't know many of you guys, and you guys have no idea who I am. So I'm in Juarez right now. I'm not originally from Juarez. I'm from Caracas, but I've been in Juarez since 2002. So I went through this whole drug war. I lived it while I was actually going to college to NMSU to study film. So I had the opportunity to get inspired by some of this injustice and all that, and shot some things on some of the areas where you guys were at, and I completely understand on shooting really close to the border, so I could relate to a lot of that. And another thing, this film sparked a lot of things. I actually live close by most of the areas where you guys were shooting at, so it was refreshing to see a very authentic capture of what Juarez really looks like, without falling into this, I don't know, stereotypical portrayal of, I don't know, what Sicarios did at some point to, you know, to showcase Juarez as like this place where you go out, you'll just die, you know? So it was refreshing to see this other aspect of it, and the element of poetry mixed with the documentary side of it. I could definitely see the sparks of acting and what was, you know, part of a script and what wasn't. And it was great to see those moments where we're watching the documentary of how the documentary is being made. So it just adds so much, another layer of honesty to it, right? So we're actually being let in to this whole truth. So yeah, congratulations to you guys. Me and Liz are here having dinner together. She's a producer. I'm a filmmaker, writer. So we worked together, and it was kind of a joyride watching this film. Congrats.
Thank you.
John, un saludo a ti y a Liz. Now we have a question from Marco. I'm gonna read it in Spanish and then I'm gonna translate in English. The question is directed to you, Huicho. Marco dice, a mí me gustaría saber, dado que fuiste parte del guión, ¿cómo fue que decidieron qué dejar y qué quitar? Pienso en la escena con tu hermano, donde te dice que el proyecto es sobre ti y no sobre él, sobre lo que estoy de acuerdo. So I don't know if you could help me translate the question or like the sense of the question and then answer that.
Yeah, who runs the editing and what happens with like choices about the cutting, like, or the editing, like the scene with your brother where he says that the film is about me and not about him. I think this is why it was such a fortunate thing to have Hiroshi there. First of all, like, it was Hiroshi's idea. Yeah, granted, it's my family, the poems, whatever, but it's Hiroshi's idea. And it was about to be a very shitty, corny film. It was about to be. If I had run it, it would have been a shitty, corny, self-centered documentary. What Hiroshi was very good at, I have to say, is that he saw all of that ego and all of that, like, oh, my homecoming, blah, 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 and he just turned it upside down. So he was like behind the scenes, behind my back, Hiroshi was talking with Isaac. And he was asking very sensible questions. Like, hey, how do you feel about this fucker getting all the attention whenever he shows up? Do you like that?
Yeah, like plotting your back. It was like making like if it was a ship, Hiroshi would be like that guy on the pirate ship who make all the plot and the mutiny to make the whole ship go upside down.
Yes.
Like I will start getting mad at my brother because like, you're right, he's taking all the attention from my parents. So what's the point of him coming here to Juarez?
Exactly. And what was very smart on Hiroshi's side is that he blindsided me with this. I wasn't expecting it. We had a script. It was all like very orderly. And then all of a sudden he says, we're gonna shoot something with Isaac. He hates you. Put up with it.
All right. So we have another rising hand by the username Tran Min Duck.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question to the whole film crew, and especially to Jose about the ending song of the film. What comes to you when you choose that song? And to Hiroshi also, like what brings you to choose the song to end the film? Because it's a song that is super familiar to me, and especially to Vietnam as well. It was translated into Vietnamese, and then it is a very popular song in Vietnam. And I was so intrigued and feel like home when listening to that song. And yeah, I'm a big question to me that how and what brought you to choosing that song to end the film.
I guess both of you guys. I don't know which one of you guys wants to answer.
Jose, do you want to talk about it?
I think that was your call, man.
Okay. So when initially Jose brought mariachi guy to talk and see what he's gonna play, he gave us a couple of songs. My Way, the very famous song, the American song, was one of his repertoire. So we recorded, I think, maybe like 4 or 5 songs by mariachi in 2 locations. And because I think for me, like My Way, the song, the lyrics is really, for me, like personally, it's about the way I make film in the way that I am interested and not following the commercial impulse, like making it sensational or in some ways, like it was my freedom, and I wanted to make a film in the way that I think the film should be, and for me, like in that way, My Way resonates with me. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Do you want to add something, Jose? And then also, yeah.
No, please.
Also, I thought that the story about Jose really resonated with My Way, because at the end, like he was just, like people, for example, the character Hugo was asking him, why do you have to make this into a film? There's no reason other than the fact that Jose, within the film, wanted to make a documentary about his life and then also what's surrounding him. And in some ways, he's doing what he wanted to do. He's just being himself. And in that way, it was, for me, that something that resonated with me, but also it resonated with the Jose character in the film, I thought.
thank you, both of you guys, for the answer. And I guess most of the people involved in the film had shared their thoughts, but Julieta hasn't really said what she feel about the film.
What do you want to know, Hiroshi?
I'm curious about the general impression. What you thought about the film?
Well, I think in relation to the story, it was quite funny that Witcher was expecting me to be like to do this like in a farm, like with a background of melons field. And it's quite ironic that back then I didn't have it and now I have it. But so in that, I think that was funny. But in relation like to the film and everything, it was really cool. Like, I would like to use more complex words, but I guess simple is better. It was really cool, like, to do this connection and in that way, because I think that one was the last time that Wicho and I were in this geographic area at the same time, and we wouldn't be here at the same time, like for at least a year before the film. And Wicho is like one of my best friends, right? Like he has part of my heart with him, and that was like meaningful. It was meaningful in that way, and it was also meaningful like to watch it and watch like this. Look at this, so these people that is part of my story. So, and it's good like to know that someone like Wicho connected with someone like you, and that could like do this storytelling through a narrative that is like beyond I would say beyond expectations, just because when you mention Juarez, people will expect something from it, like just by the word and the name of the city, and it's amazing, like have things that are not about what people would expect to see about this region and this part of the border, right? Like, so that's my general opinion about it.
Thank you. Is there someone else with a question or a comment about the film?
Can I speak a little bit about yeah. So my impression of the film was so what intrigued me was that so basically like the film and the poetry and life, it's like taught in the same line, and which is not often seen in like, I mean, it should be, but it's not everything is like that. So that was very impressive. And it's also the way that the film, the two cameras, like handy camera and still camera, that was the structure of the making film that makes feel like it's poetry, which in the way of that, like not like the poetical image, which is like father landscape and stuff like that. It's more like mixing father objective and subjective and the movement of life and the memory, and so that was so impressive. And it was morning in Japan, so it was so happy to start my day from that film. And thanks for the film. And the one question, it might be a bit kind of complicated question, but to Jose Rio, is that any changes what poetry is to you before that film and after that film?
No, I think the film, or perhaps I come to realize when I see the film that Hiroshi and I have a compatible idea of what poetry is. I would say it like that, because the whole point of writing poetry in a place that has a large share of social urgent problems that have to be addressed. The whole point of writing poetry in such a place is like not escaping reality, which would be bourgeois and stupid and self-defeating. The whole point is like look reality straight into the eyes. And because ultimately my native language isn't English, nor is Hiroshi's, there is still like some wiggle room there where you don't know if the other person is actually catching your drift. So you just go with it and hope that the nod you get or the nod you give actually signals genuine understanding. And let me tell you, like there were moments there, and I'm sure Hiroshi felt the same, and we had like an epic argument at the end of the shooting, an epic argument. And it was like, holy shit, this guy's gonna hate me. 2 weeks of work for nothing. That's what I felt. Like I felt Hiroshi's gonna be so disgusted, he's not gonna want to work with the footage at all. And because he's a patient, resilient guy, like we went past that and then into the editing. And then the editing at the first cut was very shapeless. We had a private screening in New York with a few friends that helped us and gave us their first impression, and it looked very shapeless. And even then I thought, perhaps we don't have a film. Perhaps we don't have a film, because like I know why this scene exists, and this one, they make sense for me. And we put them together and it looks ridiculous. And I felt like this was already 2018. I was about to leave New York. We were working against the clock, and I felt this might not come to an end. But when I see this and what you spot very accurately as this, like going between the subjective and the objective, lyricism and cruelty, all of that, I feel like we are not, we have a same idea of what poetry is ultimately, but it's, I would even say I found that I discovered this right now, 2 hours ago when we started watching the film with you.
Thank you for the
answer. Creo que estabas levantando la mano.
Yo. Sí, bueno, primero de todo, pues gracias y felicidades por la película. Pues bueno, tú, Huicho, más que nada sabes que juntar cine y poesía pues es lo que más me gusta ver, hacer y demás. I will try to translate after, but first I will try to make it sense on Spanish. Mi pregunta es acerca del aprendizaje. Te retracto en lo que dijiste ahora de que tal vez la película, pues de que no había película. Hay tantas maneras, ¿no? Suponemos de hacer películas. El documental en sí, y por eso no quiero que mi pregunta quede como naif o parecer un vago al respecto, Pero sí entendemos que hay un primer propósito a la hora de grabar un documental, que después en la edición pues transmuta y nos da una lección de vida, porque todo lo que queríamos hacer se va un poco a la fregada y el documental se desata por sí solo, ¿no? Entonces, como main character, como protagonista, un poco como dijo tu hermano de este documental, porque no te engañes, eres tú el protagonista de este documental, ¿cuál es el tercer acto? ¿Cuál es ¿hay un aprendizaje después de esta película para nuestro protagonista? No sé si me explico en mi pregunta. Primero dime si me explico y si no intento como reorganizarla, ¿no?
Sí, como que hay tres momentos, ¿no? El primero es un primer objetivo y luego el objetivo que se produce con la perversión, o sea,
O sea, ¿cómo pasamos, qué es lo que queda tras la transmutación de tu, o sea, cuál era el propósito inicial y por tanto, qué pasó en la edición? Y yo supongo que ahí está el aprendizaje, que salió, ¿no? Más allá de que digas ahora, no sé si tenemos una película, no, seguro hubo un aprendizaje ahí y me gustaría ahondar, bueno, sobre todo que ahondaras tú y Hiroshi también, por favor, al que invito a si me ha podido entender, pues expresar su punto, pero sobre todo me gustaría el tuyo como parte de la producción, pero sobre todo como main character de esta película. ¿Cuál es el aprendizaje cuál es el paso del punto A al punto B de nuestro protagonista?
¿Te molesta si respondo de una vez en inglés como para...?
Por favor, claro, no, si yo lo que pasa es que si lo tenía que lucubrar esto en inglés me podía pegar un tiro, pero por favor, contéstala para todos.
Sí, porque digo, para mí está, ya que haces la pregunta, que está más cabrón, o sea, creo que está más fácil responder así.
Yes, I'm sorry, Hiroshi, and all the people. First of all, thanks for the movie.
I think more than a learning, there is a sense of relief that this crucial, problematic, and horrible moment of our lives is like secure. Like, okay, this much of me is ostensibly safe. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. Like me, spiritually or economically in the world, we know how uncertain everything is right now. But it felt pretty much as uncertain last year, at least for me. So I felt like, okay, this much, like my friend from kindergarten, Hugo, was generous enough to give me an interview, even though the last time I spoke to him, I stormed out of his house because we had a very sensible disagreement on very basic stuff, political, important stuff. And it was like, I haven't seen this guy in 3 or 4 years. And now I come to him and I want to interview him about a very shameful moment in his life, because I wrote about him some years ago. It's all like very gratuitous in a way. But then when he agrees and it happens and he's honest and we record it and then it's there, I feel like, okay, of all the problems in the world, the deepest problems and at least are solved in a way. So now I can be like a superficial person with a quiet state of mind, because all of those monsters in my past, I've come to terms with them in a way. So that means that I'm empty, completely empty, pretty much nothing to offer to the world. But on the other hand, I feel like I have space to receive more stuff. And yeah, that's it. Like, I'm still like greedy, and I overeat, and I'm lazy, and I bitch about not being in Mexico. But at least I have that. Yeah, I would say.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. So, is there anyone else with a question or comment about the film?
I'm actually interested in hearing Isaac and Papa Rico seeing themselves in the film, and then also how their part contributed to the film, to this representation of Juarez and representation of Jose Rico. I'm curious.
What was the question again?
What did you think in terms of your scene, as well as how your scene contributed to the representation of Juarez and representation of Jose Rico?
Well, I can't talk a lot about the film because I just saw the last 15 minutes, and but I think I just saw like the first 5 minutes and the last 15 minutes of it. Not because I didn't want to, but it because my dad and I didn't have time.
Okay.
I think what I contribute to the film, it's not that much, but I think I contributed more to my relationship with my brother, because it was a time when I really hate him and love him at the same time, because I saw him like 15 days a year, and it was like getting nostalgias and feeling all the love between our family. And then she had to leave because he was in New York or Mexico City or Finland. So I think I didn't contribute that much to the film, but to reflect the feeling of a young, naive kid who was in the need for his brother's love, I think.
Okay, my perspective of the movie is really favorable because it's my son's movie, right? And I think Hiroshi, you made a really good movie about the reality of the poems of Jose, and I'm grateful because you made very good expression of my son's poetry. I like the way you put the words of Jose and represent the poem like it is. Every time I read the poem, I cry. I don't care. That was the time of my life. I was having problems. I was having a lot of things, but I really liked the movie.
And today he cried again.
did you that?
Thank you.
Yes, and I'm not gonna be tired of seeing it one time a week for the next 5 years. I don't care. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And also another comment. I enjoy a lot your company here, and you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Even though it was we had a lot of people here but I enjoyed it a lot.
I'd love to go back soon.
Anytime.
Por favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hiroshi,
Yes.
There's a moment when you shoot the film, when Jose and his dad read the poem, and then he turned away, and then the wind blows the cap off, and I consider it a super beautiful moment of that captures. So what do you think about that? And yeah, like Jose also, is it at any other layers to the moment, or?
Jose and Luis, do you know which scene he was talking about?
Are you referring?
Of the shop.
The caps, yeah.
And I started to.
This is the father scene, the Papa Rico scene. This happened as it happened in some ways. And what happened was that day we were going to shoot the interview with the Papa Rico and Jose, and also we had to make it to the roof to do the poetry reading afterwards during the sunset. So we were quite in a hurry to finish the interview scene. And even though the interview is very personal, in some ways very heartbreaking, and while we're filming, I could feel Papa Rico's emotions, and I also was worried that how he was feeling at the time. However, because of the conflicting schedule, we had to hurry to the roof to make it to the sunset. So we didn't have a time to do a little therapy or talking and reconciliation. In some ways, we had to do the poetry scene. So I think with that intense pressure of the timing, as well as I think this poem is a lot of, it brings a lot of memory both for Jose Rico as well as Papa Rico. And somehow when we started, because it was just one take, we shot it and then we shot the whole thing in one take, and there was no repetition. So DP Motomu is so good that he, even though this wasn't planned, maybe like some cinematographer, they would think it's an accident and they would stop shooting, but Motomu just kept on going and recorded the whole thing. And meanwhile, behind the camera, I was crying like this. My tears were like just like storming because I see a beautiful sunset, and then Papa Rico was reading a poem with whose content I know very, very well by then, by the shooting time. And then this whole crying, I was just so moved by my own film in some ways as it was happening. And so this was, I think it's all everyone's intuition. It just happened. It was like a nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like very magical, beautiful moment.
Thank you.
With Papa Rico, and yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So if someone else wants to jump in, this is the time to. I want to want to have the opportunity to thank both of you guys, Hiroshi, and everybody who was watching the film and at this Q&A session. It is a really, really great time. Like, I think everything came together with this time of pandemic that has us, everybody home, watching this candid film and making this great conversation. It's really, really a whole new experience. I'm hoping for everybody. I'm talking personally. To me, it's a great experience to have watched the film of something that happened a couple of years ago, watching my family there, watching Huicho, Hiroshi, Rayel, Julieta, Isaac, tu papá, Huicho, and everyone there. And right now, being in this quarantine, basically everybody home and sharing this together at the same time and watching ourselves 2 years later and talking to other people who is very, very welcoming of the film. This is a whole new experience for me.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. You as an organizer, also as a participant, and I am very grateful to everyone who was here. With everyone, I mean, like everyone who has been joining in the conversation and sharing their views or just listening, because there isn't infinite time. I could not like ask everyone what they're thinking, but I hope to have a moment with every single one of you later on to talk about this or other things. At a more personal level, you know, this quarantine, because I'm an extrovert, this quarantine has really worn me down. And right now I feel so lightheaded with a sense of, I feel like we're in something together. And it's like another, it's similar to being in love in a way. It feels wonderful. I'm very grateful for to all of you, and yeah, I'll write you individually later on.
That's great, Hiroshi. Wolfgang.
Well, that's really hard to
Yo solamente también gracias por la película, la quiero ver otra vez para entender ciertos momentos. Yo ya solamente me despido, un fuerte abrazo a todos y desde la Ciudad de México a Osaka, a Finlandia, a Ciudad Juárez, a donde sean que estén. Bueno, abrazotes, muchas gracias por todo. Bye bye.
Gracias, Wolf. Gracias, Wolf.
Pues de nuevo, gracias, Hiroshi, gracias, Huicho, gracias a todos por participar, gracias también a DocsMX que hizo posible esto. Como saben, es un festival, yo creo, para nada, personalmente pienso que es el más importante en México respecto a documental. Y pues ellos nos ayudaron a la difusión y a poner todo esto en marcha. Hey.
This is my husband, by the way.
Hi everyone. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Congratulations to you all for this movie that you've worked on with all your heart and all your time and all your efforts. I am so proud of you all. And I know that it's not, it's a really, you know, collaborative effort, and finishing something that you have started is not an easy task. And I just want to applaud and congratulate each congratulate each one of you for finishing it to the home ride. And I am so proud of you. I am so proud of my husband. And I'm so proud of everyone. And I want to thank everyone who, you know, worked on this movie, including, I was just like listening into the Q&A session, and I want to thank Jose and Isaac's family, the family of Ricos. You all have my greatest, one of the greatest respects for, you know, making this possible. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo
I
igual,
think he yeah.
perdón,
María,
me despido. Me dio mucho gusto verte.
igualmente. Bueno.
Nos vemos. Felicidades, me encantó.
Hablamos pronto, María
Dale,
Rosa.
México. Bye.
Aquí andamos.
All right, everybody. So I guess this is the end, and let's hope to keep alive this conversation. I don't know if there's also for the movie Hiroshi, where we can maybe keep commenting or talking.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll somehow try to think of some ways where we can keep the conversation going. And also, I'm on Facebook too. So you just add me, and so we can talk. Maybe we can do a Facebook Messenger group chat. That would be really great. Also.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then also let's raise some money for mariachi. I think it's yeah.
Yeah, for Onésimo.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's a great way to end this movie by helping out such an important part of the film. We'll share the link for the GoFundMe on the Zoom group chat. So be sure that you guys click that link before we end the meeting, because I'm thinking it's gonna be deleted once I end the meeting. So let's try and help on whichever way we can to Onésimo, who is having a hard time right now.
Yeah.
Hi, I do have one question.
Ana,
Hi.
¿Dónde estás?
En mi casa.
¿Cómo
estás?
Muy bien.
Qué bueno. So I do have one quick question. Couple of our friends that know Jose Luis as well would love to watch the movie. So is this going to stay on YouTube so I can share the link?
I'm not sure if the link is still alive once the premiere has ended, but I will definitely talk with Hiroshi about a second run for the film. Okay. And we'll let you know through our social, which is Film Chihuahua on Facebook and Film Chihuahua on the YouTube channel. So if you guys keep an eye on those two channels, on YouTube channel and Facebook, I will share to you guys as the second run for Qué Tan Lejos with Hiroshi.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah, for us, it's really cool to try to see how the script mixes up with Huicho. So it's like, hey, this is a real scene. This is not act up. So that's pretty cool. The way they set you up, man, it's oh, that's Huicho.
Yeah. No, I got set up pretty bad.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. We want to say the Hiroshi-san, domo arigato. Thank you. It was really, really cool. Everybody got teared up, and both of us were like, what the hell, man? Yeah.
We were sobbing.
Yeah. How it goes into those like introspection on Huicho's relationship with everybody who has he written something for.
So how it goes deep and deep and deep into each of those relationships. That was pretty cool. So thank you for that. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
あり
がとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
See you soon.
Muchas gracias.
ありがとうございました。ありがとう。
Chao, nos vemos. José, Hiroshi, chao. Luis, nos vemos.
Chao, thank you.
Dios los
Bye.
Isaac, nos vemos. Chao.
Bye. Bye. Bye.